Hello and welcome to History of the Ages. Today we are looking at just why Gimli was not aware of what had happened inside of Moria.
Build me a army worthy of Mordor.
So first of all, to begin this video, I think it's best that we cover what did happen in Moria. I mean, last week we had a look at the life of the Orc chieftain Azog, and just how he was the one in charge of this realm during the War of the Dwarves and the Orcs. However, after he perished, just what happened there? The Battle of Azog took place in 2799 of the Third Age, but despite the dwarves being victorious, they left the realm dark and deserted, as it was Dane Ironfoot who had laid eyes on Durin's bane inside of the gate and warned his kin to not enter this place. Some of the orcs who fled actually ended up remaining here, led by the son of Azog, Bolg. Then time would go on a fair bit, and after the Battle of the Five Armies in 2941, the dwarves of Thorin's company that remained spent time restoring the glory of Erebor as well as the town of Dale, and eventually this land became extremely prosperous once again. But once this was done, and over time, Balin became a bit restless and grew determined to return to reclaim Khazad-dum, or Moria, and find the Ring of Thror, which Balin believed had been lost when Thror had entered the gates in 2790. Despite Dane Ironfoot continuing to counsel against this, Balin led his expedition, leaving Erebor in 2989. Many dwarves went with Balin, including Oin and Ori from Thorin's company. There was a small battle when they reached the Great Gates, but this group were victorious and re-entered Moria. They would claim the 21st Hall as their main base, with Balin claiming himself the Lord of Moria and having a throne room in the Chamber of Mzabal. Things went well for the next 5 years, and the colony managed to recover old treasures, which included stores of mithril that Khazad-dum was so famous for. In November of 2994, Balin met his end. He was shot when going to investigate Mirrormere by an orc archer, meeting his death from this wound. And for those of you who are unsure, Mirrormere was a lake located under the east gate of Khazad-dum and was the source of the river Silverlode that ran down the Misty Mountains, through Lothlorien, joining the Nimrodal River before flowing into the Anduin. It was also here that Durin the Deathless first wandered to, staring into the lake, where he would see a reflection of a crown upon his head by the way of the stars above him, giving him the sign to found Khazad-dum itself right here. Balin was then taken and laid to rest in the Chamber of Mzabal, where his throne had been. More orcs would follow this archer though, and they would pin the group of dwarves inside of Moria, forcing them all the way back to make their final stand within the Chamber of Mzabal. None would survive this assault. So now we come back to, why did Gimli know nothing of these events? Well, there are slightly different answers depending on if you are looking at the books or the movie adaptations, which seems to be the case a lot of the time. When we look at Tolkien's writings, we can see that for 5 years after Balin and his company arrived, all went well and they sent messages back to Erebor of their success and glory. But all changed after Balin was shot in the back fatally by an orc archer. The dwarves managed to kill Balin's murderer, but more orcs came up, so that is why they had to retreat inside. In fact, here it is also said that Oin tried to escape west to find another way out of the mines of Moria, but was taken by the Watcher in the water. So basically, no one got away to be able to give any news, and it was not like the orcs were going to pass on the message and stir up the wrath of the dwarves themselves. I mean, it didn't exactly go well for them the last time, did it? This is talked about by Gloin during the Council of Elrond.
"It is now many years ago," said Gloin, "that a shadow of disquiet fell upon our people. Whence it came we did not at first perceive. Words began to be whispered in secret. It was said that we were hemmed in a narrow place, and that greater wealth and splendour would be found in a wider world. Some spoke of Moria, the mighty works of our fathers that are called in our own tongue Khazad-dum. And they declared that now at last we had the power and numbers to return." Gloin sighed. "Moria, Moria, wonder of the northern world. Too deep we delved there and woke the nameless fear. Long have its vast mansions lain empty since the children of Durin fled. But now we spoke of it again with longing, and yet with dread. For no dwarf has dared to pass the doors of Khazad-dum for many lives of kings, save Thror only, and he perished. At last, however, Balin listened to the whispers and resolved to go, and though Dane did not give leave willingly, he took with him Ori and Oin and many of our folk, and they went away south. That was nigh on 30 years ago. For a while we had news and it seemed good. Messages reported that Moria had been entered and a great work begun there. Then there was silence, and no word has ever come from Moria since.
So as you can see from that, Glóin is aware that no word is almost certainly not good news, even if it's not exactly been confirmed, which in turn means his son Gimli will believe the same. If we fast forward to the point that the Fellowship are making their decision on whether to go through the mines or not, there is a conversation between Gimli and Gandalf, where Gandalf is saying,
But most of the orcs of the Misty Mountains were scattered or destroyed in the Battle of Five Armies. The Eagles report that orcs are gathering again from afar, but there is hope that Moria is still free. There is even a chance that dwarves are there, and that in some deep hall of his fathers, Balin, son of Fundin, may be found. However it may prove, one must tread the path that needs chooses. I will tread the path with you, Gandalf, said Gimli. I will go and look on the halls of Durin, whatever may wait there, if you can find the doors that are shut.
Which again shows here Gimli is not a fool. He did actually have a very good idea of what happened, but if there was just a hope, or at least a false hope, that Balin may have just hidden away somewhere, he would just like to get an answer for his peace of mind more than anything, really for his entire race. On the other hand, this is slightly altered when it comes to Peter Jackson's movie adaptation. The movie gives Gimli a lot more optimism that despite not hearing from his cousin for many years, that they are still thriving. After all, he is expecting a royal welcome. He just simply had not heard anything about it. This does make the character appear a lot more naive than he does in the books. But the differences of Gimli between books and movies is a whole nother video on its own, so we'll not go too deep into that. Exactly why this was done, I think, can come down to a fairly simple reason: to increase the dramatic tension of the movie. This is something that needs to be done in film, as it was not the biggest change to be able to bring across, and it was a fairly easy one to do so. It created tension and added mystery over what they may uncover when they take that path, along with letting Gimli having a bit of a broader character arc, for better or worse. Some of these changes just happen because of a difference in storytelling formats. So at the end of all that, why didn't Gimli know what happened in Moria? Well, quite simply, in his heart, he probably did, even if he never said it out loud. He just did not necessarily want to accept it without more information or really just definite proof. It was a simple moment that was changed for the purpose of the movies, and therefore that is why it does get a bit confused within the fandom. But now we have cleared that up, I have my question for you today, and that is, if Balin had not taken his company to Moria, how do you think that would have changed the events that came after it? Would the orcs have completely refilled the mines, making it impassable? Would they have just not bothered returning there at all? How would this have affected the Fellowship? Let me know all your theories, thoughts and ideas for this in the comments below. And as always, it is time to shout out our patrons. I cannot thank you all enough, specifically our Divine Power team member Kevin, you are definitely in the favour of Eru. And of course I must also mention our Fire Demon tier members of Nashith, Michael and Lorenzo. And as well, the Wizard staff tier members of Gemma, Matt, John, Ryan, Dorian, Andrew, and our new member, Peter. You are all legends. Finally, if you've not already, please do all the great stuff, you know what they are, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. We're back to a point where over 80% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so if as many of you could do that as possible, that would just be incredible in helping us out. So thank you once more if you've managed to reach the end of this video, and we will see you next time on History of the Ages.